Hello noble ones and welcome to Metatron's Academy. Today we are checking out a channel called Lost in the Pond, and the title of the video is Rating Good and Terrible British Accents by American Actors. Ooh, this is interesting. Without further ado.
Hello person. A few weeks ago I made a video in which I rated good and terrible American accents by British actors. And the general sentiment at the time was great, now do the reverse video. Indeed, after that first video was watched more than 500,000 times, our executives agreed with you all and demanded that I do a bloody sequel, so here it is. Basically, I'm about to rate British accents by American actors from very good to absolutely But before I do that, if you...
Oh, that's interesting because I actually never watched the original movie, Robin Hood movie with Kevin Costner in English. I have no idea what he sounded like. I watched it dubbed in Italian. Ooh, this is going to be great.
The sort of person that wants to learn the differences between British and American culture and you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, do that now! In the meantime, Dick Van Dyke.
All right, ladies and gents. Comical poem, suitable for the occasion, extemporized and thought up before your very eyes. All right, here we go.
Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Was he supposed to have an Irish accent?
Is one of the most famous examples of an American actor doing a British accent badly. And I have...
British. So, you know, when I hear the word British, I sometimes get confused because a lot of people, when they say British, they mean English accent. And in fact, there are some people that when they say a British accent, they just mean like a southern accent, whether it be Cockney, Estuary, or posh. British, of course, includes Welsh accent is a British accent, Scottish accent is a British accent. Irish, though, depends. I mean, British Isles, right? Let me double check that because I don't want to be offensive to the Irish, but British Isles. Yeah, exactly. So here, look at this, because I think this could be a good chance to actually learn something that gets a lot of misunderstanding. So the British Isles is everything. All of these are the British Isles. So a British accent is from anywhere here. Then you have Great Britain, which is Scotland, England, Wales, and that's it. Then you have, of course, Ireland. When you say Ireland, you mean the entirety of the island. And when you say the United Kingdom, then you mean Scotland, England, Ireland, and Northern Ireland. Scotland, England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So when you say a British accent, technically, you don't say a great British accent, you say a British accent. So I think that includes an Irish accent. Tell me if you agree or disagree.
I have three things to say about that. Firstly, it's true. Secondly, when I lived in Britain, I don't think I ever met a single British person who was offended by this accent. In fact, I think most of the time we see it as quite charming. It probably helps that it's the universally loved Dick Van Dyke.
Right.
But that said, it doesn't stop me and Dick Van Dyke himself from saying that this is an absolutely abysmal attempt at a Cockney accent.
He was trying Cockney. Oh, I see. So that the extra nasalized I suppose, what he was trying to do.
I mean, it was the worst Cockney accent ever done. The guy who taught me was an Irishman. Yeah.
Oh, come on, guys. I'm on my top game here, and I'm not a native. I could spot it.
For those not in the know, a Cockney accent is a regional working class accent usually associated with East London. It's actually an abysmal attempt at any accent. Half the time I don't really know what he's saying because it's like a confused combination of vowel sounds from many different dialects. For instance, it stands out to me the way he says the word go.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah, go. That's definitely the go. It almost sounds Scottish at that point when it's like go. Maybe not as much, we'll see. But like, if you wanted to say it as a Cockney, maybe like go. It's like a ow or thou, I think. But you might have to correct me.
Go. There is not a single Londoner in London that would say it that way. If anything, it's close to perhaps how Scottish people
Bro, come on. I'm an Italian. Come on.
might say that word. But Scotland is at the exact opposite end of Britain, and his accent here is just all round bad. So I think I'd have to give this 0 out of 10.
I agree.
Of course, while I can forgive bad actors on screen, I'm not quite so tolerant of bad actors on the internet. Doing this job, I've discovered that there are hundreds of entities called data brokers. Link is in my description.
Link in the description for his video, guys. Support it.
Below.
Why, it's what we lamplighters call ourselves, of course. Time to send up the call to arms. Learys, trip the lights and lead the way.
So they try to repeat the trick in the underrated Mary Poppins Returns with Lin-Manuel Miranda basically playing a Dick Van Dyke-like character in this film. And I have to say, I think his attempt at a Cockney accent is a step up from Dick Van Dyke. You can at least hear what he's saying. He mostly is consistent, but he isn't always accurate. Listen to the way he says crowd.
Now say you're lost in the crowd. Well,
A good old Cockney boy is going to say crowd. I was lost in the crowd. I was
A bit like when they say window instead of window. Window.
lost in the crowd. This is really hard to do, actually. Also, when he says that's what us lamplighters call ourselves, notice how he says the word call.
why, it's what we lamplighters call ourselves.
Yeah, he said coal. It should be cool with the W, dark W sound, like 13 or like Zelda. Do you like Zelda instead of Zelda?
So a Cockney isn't going to say call like that. Say, that's what us lamplighters call ourselves. So if I'm looking at that,
Cool. It's the dark L, yeah.
that's a 3 out of 10.
You tossers! You had one job to do!
Hang on, are you accusing me of booby trapping?
Here we go.
Hey, is Danny about?
Yeah, he's waiting around the corner.
Oh, it's terrific. It'll be nice working with proper villains again.
If you knew nothing about Don Cheadle, you would at least know from this that he's not from London. It's not the worst. He certainly gets some of the vowel sounds down. And actually, when he utters the line, here we go,
Here we go.
I was impressed that
Go.
he dropped an H, which is a
Oh, ear. Yeah.
feature traditionally of Cockney English. But generally speaking, this attempt at a London accent anyway gives me the impression of somebody who had perhaps 6 hours to work with a dialect coach and was thrown in at the deep end. Is it better than Dick Van Dyke?
Well, of
yes.
course, I
Is it
think
better than
anything.
Lin-Manuel Miranda? It's sort of on that level. So Don, Mr. Cheadle, you also get 3 out of 10.
Oi! Oi! Mike's not working. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the launch of Kafka's Motorbike, the greatest book of our time.
You know, it's only now, watching it years after this film came out, that Renee Zellweger's accent in this vaguely reminded me of just any English children's TV presenter. Unlike in the past, those presenters no longer speak with the Queen's English, but they do tend to have quite posh-ish accents with
Kind of upper class.
regionalisms creeping in. In other words, she's hit on something here that I think most American actors do not, in that she sounds conversational in that accent, as opposed to always formal or
Yeah, maybe a little estuary.
always badly Cockney. And I remember this very well. When the film first came out in Britain, most people at first didn't know she was American, much less that Renee Zellweger speaks with a Texas drawl.
He's competitive, guys. Y'all seen him, right?
And her accent is one of those that's always held up as a fine example of an American expertly doing a British accent. So for that, Renee Zellweger, you get 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, wow.
I had a crush on you. Yeah, ridiculous.
I want Kevin Costner. Wait, I want Kevin Costner. Give me Kevin Costner.
So I think that's a sign of not just a good accent, but very good acting. And for that, John Lithgow, we'll give you a 10 out of 10.
They got armor, Paul? Even this boy can be taught to find the chinks in every suit of
Can be taught. Yeah, that's...
armor. Yeah, but what about our kid?
Okay, so he didn't put on an accent then. He just sounds American.
Shutter's taking all they got, too.
And by God, we take it back.
Take it back.
I'm not ashamed to admit, I absolutely loved this film in 1991, and this particular scene used to get me very patriotic. The question is, patriotic for which country? Because I would say that Kevin Costner's accent in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is comprised of about 1% English and 99% Californian.
Yeah, that's true. It's not even trying.
And you might think, well, you know, back then nobody spoke like we do today.
That's true, but they also didn't speak like Californians. So maybe the... Oh, that would be actually interesting to make a Robin Hood movie where they speak medieval English with the accent. You know, the kind of before the great vowel shift or the GVS, or perhaps like in the middle of it, with some features but not everything. The vowels are moving, they're shifting, but not entirely just yet. Oh, that I would love that. I would love that. You might need subtitles, but I would love it.
What does it matter if he doesn't have an English accent? And I would say to that, fair point. I'm not against the idea of somebody just owning an American accent in a role like this, so long as they're consistent. There were moments, I don't know if you noticed them, in this very scene, when he thought, you know what, on this word, I'm bringing the Englishness. For example,
Even this boy can be taught to
Boy?
find the chinks in every suit of armor.
he says suit instead of suit, and his
Oh, I see.
Intonation,
Well, that one, I missed that one. I didn't notice.
I think, is an attempt at what he perceives to be British intonation. Suit of armour, but he puts an R on the end. So as much as I adore this stupid little film...
The rhotic aspect of it is actually fine for the period because the dropping of the R still hadn't occurred. So it wasn't non-rhotic. But maybe a good example to picture that, if you've ever heard a Bristolian accent, little rural, they have an English accent, but they pronounce the R. It's fascinating, actually, particularly when you... So, like, they won't say, I don't know, if they say a cup of tea, it still sounds very English, but if they say a glass of water, they would say a glass of water. So it's kind of... It's still English, but it has the R. And it's kind of one of those situations on the opposite. Imagine if you get someone from Bristol with that kind of accent to have a conversation with someone from Boston in America, that is one of those areas in the East Coast that they still retain a fully American accent, but they do drop the R's. It's non-rhotic, a bit like old school New York accent. If you have a conversation between someone from Boston and someone from Bristol, the English guy would have a rhotic accent, pronouncing the R's, and the American would be dropping them. Wouldn't that be a fascinating trick?
And as much as I quite like his performance in it, Kevin Costner, you get a 0 out of 10.
Of course.
All men are born to die. We know it. We carry it with us always. If your day be today...
The dog's barking again. This is not the first time my dog has barked at Timothée Chalamet.
Same. Happens to me as well.
What matters is that you know in your hearts that today you are that kingdom united. You are England.
That's not bad. United. And then he went, "You're England."
Each and every one of you, England is you!
I think that's what Kevin Costner thinks he sounds like. And I think that Timothée Chalamet probably studied the speech patterns of 20th century royals like the Queen. And
I see. I don't know. Because if it's this, even the Queen modified her accent. And I did actually a little analysis of this on a video of mine where we actually looked at it. And she changed the way she pronounced some words while retaining some characteristics. Like, for instance, when she was very young, you could see she said happy instead of happy. She would pronounce the A like a eh for a short. Something you still find in post-colonial accents, such as in like South Africa or Australia. They still tend to do that. I mean, Australians even say answer instead of answer, which, I mean, I don't think any English ever did, but you know what I mean. And in situations when there's like a short A sound in the middle, like cat, the cat. And the Queen maintained that for some words. Like, she never actually transitioned bank into bank. So she did say Bank of England, the Bank of England, and then Happy Christmas. It's fascinating. But the Queen did change her accent on a lot of other words. Incidentally, she doesn't say often or often. Well, she didn't. She's dead. But you know what I mean? She used to pronounce it as often. So dropping the T but pronouncing the O in a way that makes it sound like a child without a parent.
The reason I say that is the way he pronounces England.
You, England is you!
England. I could imagine the Queen saying that during one of her Christmas speeches, just without the yelling. On the one hand, there's something good as an actor.
Could you imagine a Queen saying, "England is you"?
Got emotion to deliver along with the accent. Because if you get it right, people think you're an amazing actor. If you get it wrong, you end up looking like a bit of a prat. Thankfully for Mr. Chalamet, he does a good job here. The biggest compliment that I could give to him is watching this, I could quite easily mistake him for a BBC period drama actor. And his films only go to prove that King Henry V sounded nothing like Bob Dylan.
Make it England!
So I think it'd be fair to give him 9 out of 10. And you might say, Lawrence, you just said he sounds like a BBC actor. What more does he need to do? And I did say that. I just can't shake this nagging feeling that he also sounds like Elijah Wood as Frodo Baggins.
Oh, that's funny. Maybe a little performative.
Especially when he's yelling. And this has got me second guessing myself because Elijah Wood is also an American actor who's doing a British accent even though he's a hobbit. And it's got me wondering, are there parts of their speech that are coming through that are slightly American that I'm not quite sure how to detect? Or is it just coincidence? I slept on this overnight and I realised it's definitely not coincidence. See, both of them are basically good at received pronunciation, or the Queen's English, but both also have a habit of occasionally uttering sounds where I genuinely can't tell if...
I wonder why we call it, by the way, Queen's English, because to me, RP, you know, it's kind of the broadcaster pronunciation and English teacher pronunciation, if you will, usually. There's someone like Lucy, for instance, massive channel, 14 million subscribers. She has an RP. To me, the Queen's English, meaning the way the Queen spoke, is different from RP in the sense of received pronunciation of broadcasters today. In fact, it's even different. You don't even have to go all the way up to the Queen, who maintained some 1950s and 1940s characteristics in her speech pattern. But even if you look at like an actual posh, very posh, like royalty type of speak characteristic, when they go like, oh, you know, that kind of, I don't think that that's RP. You can be extremely posh. You sound posh if you speak RP, but you don't sound like royalty as much. Oh, it's like, I don't even know. I can't even do it, but I think you know what I'm saying. I'm saying that I don't know why we call it Queen's English if it's not like people who speak it sound as posh as the Queen. They sound like they've been brushed by the Queen, if you will. But anyways, thank you for the video. Very fun. And let me know what you guys think. And gosh, that Kevin Costner, I do not know. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.